Importantly, governments in many countries are working hard to address macroeconomic imbalances. Fiscal deficits, for example, have been narrowing, helping stabilize public debt in most countries. These outcomes are all the more encouraging given strong external headwinds, such as slower international demand, expensive and difficult access to finance. Still, it is too early to celebrate as many challenges lie ahead. The funding squeeze is not over, and while debt levels have stabilized, the cost of repayments has increased. Policy priorities can help. First, addressing inflation. In countries with elevated and rising inflation, further tightening might be warranted. Countries where inflation is both falling and on track to meet their target could pause monetary policy tightening. This matters, of course, because of the hugely adverse effect that high inflation has in eroding the incomes of the poorest people in society. Second, reducing debt vulnerabilities while creating space for development spending. This requires a delicate balance between raising domestic revenues and reforms to foster growth. Third, allowing the exchange rate to depreciate where needed, avoiding depreciation pressures at the cost of exhausting scarce international reserves and eroding competitiveness often ends up causing more challenges later on. And finally, continuing to increase investment, that's growth enhancing. Needless to say, our region is home to the fast-growing and highly creative population, and we must invest in them now to allow them to reach their full potential and make this 21st century the African century. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abebe, for this very insightful introduction.
My question is, debt, inflation, budget deficits, taxation, what should we expect in 2024 in sub-Saharan Africa, especially when we know that the continent is considered to be the future of the world, while countries of the region are still suffering from the development financing crisis? Thank you.
The financing challenges continue to be quite stringent. But as we also noted, we are seeing signs of output beginning to recover. That's very encouraging. Growth decelerated from 4% to 3.3%. But if we actually look at the median growth rate, it was stable at 4.1% for the region now. And it's the slowdown in growth was because 3-4 large economies saw activity declining this year. So for the vast majority of countries, we are seeing stability in the growth rate and even a broadening of the recovery into next year. That's encouraging. Second, we are also very encouraged by the fact that our policymakers have been grappling with these challenges. Some of the fundamental factors behind the inflation pressures that we see, the debt buildup, has of course been high fiscal deficits, and countries have been getting to grips with that. Fiscal deficits have narrowed, helping stabilize debt. Growth, of course, has also contributed. So, we remain cautiously optimistic, as I said in my introduction. There has been a big fallout, as much remains to be done, and the international community definitely needs to support the region. But, we shouldn't underestimate also just how much work has been done over the last couple of years in difficult conditions.
Thank you, Abebe.
Can you give us some insight into those conversations that you're having with Africa's creditors, such as China, of course, as you urge them to provide those financing assurances, and also what concerns are these creditors, like China, giving you in these debt talks?
We provide, in general, our assessment of the macroeconomic outlook, what kind of financing gaps are likely to be emerging, how countries can best avoid undue austerity where debt is unreasonably high. So that's re-engage and support the authorities rather than directly with creditors. But we, of course, from time to time do meet with creditors, and